first psychological keys to success is awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Do not live in denial. Living in denial of what is going on in our lives is a big mistake. You cannot do anything unless you know it is happening. The first step is therefore awareness. Shifting our lives' perspective is awareness. In businesses, there is a formula we use known as SWOT analysis. It is a useful tool for brainstorming and strategic planning. You'll get more value from a SWOT analysis if you conduct it with a specific objective or question in mind. Analyzing your strengths and weaknesses as well as the opportunities and threats that you face. This helps you focus on your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, and take the greatest possible advantage of opportunities available to you. Thinking of a career change? Preparing for a job interview? Listing everything down in a SWOT diagram will clarify your thoughts and help shape your applications or resume. It will also help you identify the unique strength that distinguishes you from your competitors. S stands for strength, W stands for weakness, O stands for opportunities, T stands for threat. SWOT. One of the greatest pearls of wisdom that has emerged from the Western civilization is an inscription written at the Oracle of Delphi. It was believed that the god lived within a holy plant and gave oracles for the future with the rustling of the leaves. The ancient Greek aphorism, "Know thyself," is one of the Delphic maxims found in the ruins of the temple. But how does one know thyself? It is by knowing one's own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Do not be scared by words like weaknesses or threats. Weaknesses or threat is usually another way of saying lack of information, lack of knowledge. Nobody is born knowing. We all get to know things along our journey of life, or to put it deeply, remembrance. But it requires courage to acknowledge when things are not what they could be. Jack Welch, who was an American business executive, chemical engineer, and writer, he was chairman of and the CEO of General Electric between 1981 and 2001. When he retired from General Electric, he received a severance payment of $417 million, the largest such payment in business history. Focus, consistency, and follow-up may be described as Jack Welch's mantra. His invariable focus on changing when necessary, openness to new ideas, customer service, quality, simplicity, the empowerment of managers and employees, and the quest of competitive advantage are the hallmark of Welch's greatest leadership. But for the purpose of this presentation, Jack Welch used to say, "You do not have to know everything, just someone who knows or knows someone who knows." But it doesn't stop at that. How it really works is how you treat who you know. This will determine whether they will give you that information or not. Always look out for someone who knows and treat them well. Most will be happy to help. Greatness is not born, greatness develops, but it requires the humility to acknowledge what we do not know and to allow ourselves to be taught by those who do. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Socrates famously declared that the unexamined life was not worth living. Asked to sum up what all philosophical commandments could be reduced to, he replied, "Know yourself." Knowing yourself has extraordinary prestige in humanity. It has been framed as quite literally the meaning of life. This sounds, when one hears it, highly plausible. Yet so plausible it's worth pausing to ask a few more questions. Just why is self-knowledge such a prestigious good? What are the dangers that come with a lack of self-knowledge? And what do we in fact need to know about ourselves? How do we come to learn such things? And why is self-knowledge difficult to attain? There are a million things you could potentially know about yourself. Just briefly, I want to focus on the area of self-knowledge that matters most in life. The area concerned with the inner psychological core of the self. The key bits of self-knowledge we'll be interested are probably or possibly be: what kind of a person are you characteristically attracted to in love? What are your talents at work? What problems do you have around success or failure? How are you about feedback? What do you do when you have been frustrated by life? What kind of taste do you have? Can you distinguish between your passing, boldly based emotions and your more rational thoughts? Even when it comes to money, most of what we spend money on is a hunch about what will make us happy. But without self-knowledge, we will have a hard time figuring out the relationship between what we purchase and how we feel. Impulsive purchases will soon be regretted. We will be prey of fashions. Not knowing ourselves, will be at the mercy of what consumer society tells us to want. We might become inadvertent snobs, liking things because others like them, rather than for deeper personal reasons. What would the wise person end up knowing about themselves? Of course, what individuals know is specific to them, but we can still identify the kind of things they know. The wise, self-knowing person would be less prone to blame others for their troubles. They would likely be less frustrated at work. It's not that they have the perfect job. They know themselves well enough to seek out the kind of work they can do comfortably. They don't push needlessly to get ahead. They can cope fairly well with criticism, so they don't get unduly anxious in a competitive environment. They would panic a bit less. Panic is caused by fear, and mostly the fear is psychological rather than physical. Fear of humiliation or rejection or being bored. Great self-knowledge diminishes these fears. They would be less prone to envy, because envy often comes from not quite knowing what you really need. Thank you very much for watching, and hit the notification bell to get notified. Thank you.